Paul's in Law and Order?
Yeah.
He was on Disney Channel.
Did he do something bad on Law and Order?
Yeah, it was Jake Paul.
Like, did he go to Law and Order jail?
Tried to kill a woman.
Oh, he was actually the bad guy in it?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And it was like
It's fitting, I guess.
It's like the Gamergate episode.
Gamergate?
Yeah.
What's Gamergate?
You don't know what game? We're not going to get into it.
Okay, for another time, I guess.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Life is Daijoubu, episode 43. I about pulled a dyslexic move and said 34 when I quickly glanced up at the number to see what it was, and I about said 34, but it is not 34.
Did you guys ever think at one point in time that you had dyslexia?
Every now and then I get it. I don't think it. Okay, that's not how it is, because that's not something you can just get every.
It's like
now.
a cold, you just catch it every once in a while.
Oh no, I got dyslexia first.
No.
I better get over it the weekend.
No. You want to know why? I could read when I was in kindergarten when they taught you. And it's like, oh, he can read. He doesn't have dyslexia.
Yeah, same. Every now and then, though, I do slip up and flip up. I spoonerize it almost, yeah.
That's just how your brain works. You're just like, hey, welcome to the slur. You just like mess it up because sometimes your brain thinks faster than
I can speak.
Your muscles.
Sometimes I just go brain dead while I'm communicating with people. Where like I'm trying to speak and then my mouth just doesn't say the word.
Mouth?
Yeah, literally. And it's like, well, I'm gonna pause, rewind, pretend that didn't happen. Let's go again.
Anyway, this is Life is Daijoubu, as we just said, episode 43. Your hosts, Cole, Thane, and Skylar. We're here to talk about anime and nothing else. Nothing else is allowed to be spoken about in this podcast except for anime. And anything else we decide to talk about during the show. For some reason, it feels like it's been months since we recorded. And I think it's just because I've been, like, doing so much random junk.
Because we haven't done our other podcast, which...
But you also took 2 weeks off of life for the last
Basically,
this month.
dude. What a month to take life off, am I right, though? Like, just winter.
You literally missed the worst storm that I've lived in this city ever.
You think? That bad? Wow.
Because I don't remember it ever being that bad. Thane and I didn't leave the house for like 3 days.
You just kind of holed up and cuddled?
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't even go out. Like, we went outside. There's like 2-foot snowdrifts in front of our door. It's like, well.
Wow. Meanwhile, I was in Texas and California 2 separate times and enjoying some nice warm weather. Save for the couple days in Texas where it was kind of cold. But I was indoors those days.
It got so cold, my battery died.
Oh, in your car?
Yeah.
That's sad.
Join the club.
Yeah. In fact, you haven't driven your car. It might need to be jumped.
I have. It's good.
Oh, it is?
I guess I haven't driven it since this last time I was gone. But in between the 2 vacations, I did drive it.
If I had to guess, it's probably okay.
My car's pretty dang resilient.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, every time I talk to my dad about your car, because he's like, how come Cole never drives? And I always explain to him, like, stuff.
Yeah.
Every time I think about it, I'm like, man, I cannot believe that car still goes. It just goes and goes.
One of what's really funny is, like, the heater does work, by the way. It just doesn't, like, work unless I'm going places, like driving a while. Mm-hmm. If it's just sitting there, it won't kick on. But, like, if I drive to my parents' house, I'm pretty much warm the whole way. So it's almost unfortunate that we just live, like,
1 second away.
An hour, a minute away. But, like I said earlier, this is an anime podcast, guys.
No one cares about our lives. No one cares about our lives, only anime.
Only anime. And we're going to get into the news before we get into our show. Later on, we're going to be talking about Serial Experiments Lain, or as most people just refer to it, just Lane. They don't ever bring up the first 2 words of the series. But that's the show that we watched over the past 2 weeks. So we're going to be getting into that around the halfway mark of the show. Before then, we've got the news. We've got our seasonal shows. We haven't talked about anything about our seasonal shows, so I guess we're just going to spin the wheel of whatever you decide to talk about. Leave it up to you guys. Talk about one show, and that's it. But before then, I'll let you guys think about that. Let's talk about news. So, you guys don't have anything, correct?
No.
All right. I've got a list of things that I just pulled together. So I'm going to just say them as I wrote them because I don't have any specific order this time around. First up, we have Space Brothers. So that's in manga you read, Thane.
Yeah.
It does have an anime, right?
Yeah.
The author said that they plan to continue the anime when the manga ends.
Oh, okay. Want to know the worst part is that I read it illegitimately, and then the illegitimate scan stopped, and now but the continuation's on K manga. I don't like K manga.
Oof. Nobody
Sounds like
likes
you're in
K
between a
manga.
rock and a
Yeah.
pirated place.
Yeah.
Ahoy, matey. You go find that
Unless
One Piece.
Unless the volume comes out and they translate the volume, throw it up here, I gotta wait.
Yeah.
So are they going to continue to write the anime after the manga's over, or continue just to adapt
No,
the manga?
just adapt
it.
it.
It's
Okay.
like ended.
I take back my then.
It ended like the halfway point of the manga. The original anime did.
Oh, so
yeah,
this-
they just never finished.
How many years
Yeah.
ago was that?
Say like 2014.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
a decade ago.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say.
But the manga's not done yet either, so
It's almost done. It's
yeah.
almost there.
So they're just waiting for it to finish at this point.
Yeah.
Next up, I've got Shield Hero getting a season 4.
That makes sense.
You know what? Earlier when it's been a couple weeks, Thane brought up why do these bad shows keep getting seasons
Yeah.
in reference to like I got a cheat skill in another world.
Yeah.
And I look at Shield Hero season 4 and I say, why do these bad shows keep getting seasons?
We'll admit season 3 was better.
Oh, you actually got
Yeah.
cut up, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Season 3 is better. But
is it one of those shows you have to grind, like you have to force yourself to watch?
Season
Yeah,
1's no. Season 1's actually decent.
Yeah, season 1's good.
Season 2 bad.
Yeah, season 2 you kind of have to.
I don't know what consumes a fandom to push through the poop. Because usually when I'm consuming something, I don't think I'm a big enough fan. Even with like Halo, I love Halo. My God, it's been rough. It has been roughy, rough. And I'm okay to say I'm done, and I'll just stick with the good of what we have. I don't know what consumes a fandom to push through the poop.
Why
Do
don't
you
you
guys
ask
have
a
an answer?
Pokemon fan that? Oh, we like it.
You like it enough.
We like it enough. That's pretty much it. Next up, I've got, it's called Failure Frame. It's a light novel. It's getting an anime adaptation. And here's a banger. Reincarnated as the daughter of the legendary hero and the Queen of Spirits. Light novel is getting an anime. That's got to be a watchable one, right? We're all
Guess.
three of us are watching that when that comes out.
I'm not.
Easily.
I'm not.
You know it's a light novel when it says reincarnated.
Yeah.
Loner Life in Another World. Light novel getting an anime.
You know it's a light novel if it says in another world.
Plus-sized elf manga is getting an anime.
Okay.
I've
You
heard
know,
about this one a little bit.
I was going to say, based off of that title, I feel like that's something that I would read.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just out of pure irony.
So I remember hearing about it a while ago. I didn't have any interest, and I still don't. I saw the picture, and like calling her plus-sized is like an overstatement. She's not that big.
She just have like fat breasts.
Nah, she's just
She's a little chubby.
a little normal, if you will.
So she doesn't look like your typical anime
She
girl.
doesn't look like a typical
Yeah.
anime girl.
Can I pull this up while you're reading?
Yeah, go for it. You plus-sized elf? Is that what you're looking up?
Yeah, I just want to see the cover.
Okay. We got How to Become Ordinary, which didn't say it was a light novel. It said it was a set of mystery novels, and that's getting an anime. The pictures did
Well,
not
she's
make
just
me
thick.
think that. Yeah, she's just thick a little bit.
Yeah,
Plus-size elf, just thick.
You know, after seeing this cover, this ain't something I would
Oh, I would
read.
not watch it.
This
Yeah.
this just looks like a horny manga.
Like I described it, as she looks normal.
Yeah.
It's pretty accurate, I would say.
Yeah,
Pretty
she just
accurate.
looks like a normal woman.
Other than she's got elf years
Yeah.
and probably lives to be thousands of years old.
Maybe that's why she got fat. That's part of it. She's just like, well, I'm 10 million years
See,
old.
that's a
Yeah.
clever way to
She's
build the
living a-
world. I'm into that. Now let's read this manga.
She's just having a midlife crisis.
What is she, 500?
Yeah.
Wait, don't elves live forever?
No, they do have like a lifespan. I think it's like
Depends on
3,000
the
years or
lore.
something. It depends on the
show.
lore.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, like I guess you would potentially know. What is the Lord of the Rings elf lifespan? Do you know?
thousands. I think Galadriel's over 3,000 years old.
Isn't it
Gotcha.
eternal?
I don't think they die.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they can die, but I don't think they age to death.
How do they reproduce?
Same as, I think.
Yeah.
Do they reproduce like quickly, like as a normal human being, or do like they have a hard time getting pregnant?
That is not explained in the main books, to my knowledge. That might be something you have to read in like the appendices.
I only bring that up literally because I know of a series that is a thing that they bring up, and I'm like, huh, that makes a lot of effing sense.
If I had to guess, they just reproduce like normal.
Yeah,
Like they have like a normal pregnancy. They just live forever.
like by holding hands.
yeah.
Okay, cool, got it. Next up, we've got these are both Monogatari spin-offs. One of them is called Off Season, and one of them is called Monster Season, and they are both getting animes.
Oh, finally.
Oh, did you know about this a little bit?
Well, I knew about those, but I didn't know if they would adapt them or not.
I don't know anything about
Yeah.
Monogatari.
It's great.
I've always kind of wanted to get into it, but there's like a bajillion different spin-offs that I've kind of just been like,
Those are all seasons.
maybe not.
I wonder if Drake told me about it.
What about like Bakemonogatari? Is that like the same thing?
It's Bakemonogatari is the first one, and then like there's a guide. There's
There's a
season
guide.
1. You watch all those. Season 2, watch all those. Season 3, watch all those if you want to. There's a prequel movie trilogy. That's optional, but you can watch it. And then these, I guess, are just like epilogues to the main series.
It's a big maybe someday for
Yeah.
me, which potentially means a never, as we all know. But it's always been like one of those things that I've been slightly interested enough to get to look into. But anyway, the next two things are more discussion pieces. But before we get to those, I do want to bring up another thing. And Thane would have more information about this. Ever since he told me about it, I've been more interested. It's a video game, actually. It's Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Yeah.
Is finally releasing after 6 years past its
6 years.
original release date.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. Is there anything else to know about it than that?
I played the demo. It's good. It's a fun action game. It seems pretty ambitious, especially with all the characters you can pick. I don't know how many characters they have. They probably have over 20, 30, probably. I mean, there's a lot of characters in the mobile game, but they all seem pretty unique and different from each other. It's an action RPG, and I liked it. They learned a lot from Platinum, I guess, when they were working on it, because Platinum Games was on there for like the first year, and then they left.
I see. Because, like, I looked it up, and I was like, oh, these anime girls are quite cute.
Yeah.
Let's look more into this video game. And the gameplay looked a lot of fun, and the visuals looked really, really cool. And I was like, huh, I might be into this game. So I might end up buying this game sometime.
Yeah.
Did they just underestimate the workload, or did the game undergo a bunch of changes?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't look into that aspect of it. I just saw the cute anime girls, and I was like, do I want to play this game? The answer is yes, I kind of do.
Probably making all the characters unique from each other, all the voice lines.
And slipping the gotcha mechanics.
I don't think there's any gotchas.
No.
There's
Sadly,
and
I
also
missed the
trying to
gotcha.
get the online to work. There is online co-op for every mission.
And every playable character is completely different from the last. And there's
Yeah.
like, what'd you say, 20 or something of them?
Yeah, 20. I don't know. Like, I don't remember how many I think they gave you 15 or I don't know. Someone could correct us in the comments. There were a lot of characters to play in the demo.
Yeah.
There might be more.
Looks cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that were in development hell, there's an anime that was recently canceled due to production issues, and it was called 10 Count, which was a BL anime. I find this very interesting that this anime probably was pretty far along into development, but then after a while they just gave up on it. Like, how far is too far? Like, how far do you just go like, okay, we're just doing it? Like, what do you think? Like, you get 50% of the work done and go, well, I guess we better, right? I guess we finish it.
I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah.
I don't know what the ROI is on an anime because I don't know the logistics behind all the money.
It's probably like like it was up in there. It's a BL. How well do these things do?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just imagine like they probably weren't too far into it if they
Yeah.
decided to scrap it. Because I feel like if I was over 50% done with something, I would not want to scrap it.
Yeah.
But I see exactly where you're coming from. The
I
things
know
you're saying.
some games got scrapped because they were like, "Oh, we're almost done." Like Star Fox 2, we're almost done. It's like, "Oh, the SNES is irrelevant. Cancel it."
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. That kind of stuff does happen, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Or like the game Thrill Kill, it's like they're making this like violent version of Power Stone, and then EA buys the company. It's like this is too satanic and violent. Cancel it.
Well, anyway, the last thing I have in the news section isn't like super intriguing news. It's more of a rant from me in disguised in the form of news. And it's that Pokemon Horizons, the anime, is slated to release in English on Netflix on March 7th. A year and a half after the Japanese release, and about a little under a year after the European English dub release. So basically, Netflix has been sitting on the English dub for almost an entire year, just not releasing it.
Just so they can release everything at once.
I guess, dude. I don't freaking know, dude. It blows my mind. Like, come on, Pokemon Company. I understand that Netflix money is so freaking good. Don't get me wrong. I get it. But, like, try to figure out some way to get, like, subs out there. Get the subbed episodes out there. I would pay for it.
It's kind of funny because Netflix is releasing shows like Delicious in Dungeon this season, and the one other season they had My Happy Marriage. They're doing those shows like
Weekly?
and Psalm 100. They're doing them weekly now.
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't you release it like? Why don't you release Pokemon weekly or like?
It just makes me so mad,
Yeah.
dude. It's like they don't. It's like, I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, like, what am I, like, the 1% of Pokemon fans that actually care about this? Probably.
Yeah.
But regardless, like, how hard would it be just to release the subtitled versions of it? Even if it's on Netflix, you know? Like, why not?
I think what you need is NordVPN, today's sponsor.
Oh, man, that'd be cool. We
Yeah.
don't got that, though. But that's the other silly, stupid thing, though, is in Europe, they released the English dub, like, 9 months ago.
That's so stupid. And that's the dub we're going to get?
Yeah, same exact
Yeah.
thing. 1 for 1.
If it was different, it'd be like, okay, I guess.
Nah, it's same.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
just
my
they're just sitting on it. I think it is Netflix Europe as well that released it over there too. Like I think it's still technically Netflix. I don't know
That's
how
really
it all works,
stupid. If you're gonna have an English dub ready, just have it in every territory that can watch it. That is so freaking stupid.
I agree. That was my rant. I wanted the justification and those feel goods to hear you guys rant too. So I appreciate it. But that does it for the news section. Let's go ahead and talk about our shows that we are watching this season. Now, I said earlier just to pick one show that you're watching this season, and I'm going to hold to that. Go ahead and pick the show that you're watching this season and what you want to talk about it with. Freak, I'm not watching very many shows that other people are not watching. I was going to try to pick one that no one else is watching. I'm pretty sure every single one of my shows that I'm watching someone else's.
I can go first.
You got it?
I doubt you guys are watching this one.
Okay.
I'm not watching your Sayatsura.
Oh, wait, you might be watching this one, actually. Are you watching the 7th Time Loop?
No, I never did pick that up.
Okay. So that one, it's got a really long title. I'm just going to call it 7th Time Loop. Essentially, this girl has died lived lifetimes, died several times, and it's like Groundhog Day. She goes back to the same day when she dies. But she lives a very long time and then dies eventually and goes back to this same place. So she takes the knowledge that she learns with all these different lives, and she's trying to figure out why the main guy killed her. Because in the first episode, minor spoilers, it's within like the first 5 minutes, he kills her. And she goes back to this whatever the time loop. I think it's her 7th time loop is what this one is specifically. But it's weird because they tell it in flashbacks. Like you get different snippets of her different lives. But anyway, she ends up marrying this guy, and she's trying to figure out why he wants to murder her. but it's like kind of cute, kind of fun, very dramatic and suspenseful, and a lot better than I thought it would be. So,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good.
That's where I'm at with that.
Because I know when you brought it up a while ago, I was like, oh, yeah, I might pick that one up based on the brief synopses you gave us a while ago. I never did, obviously, but hey, maybe in the end of the season I'll binge it because it did sound intriguing. And the fact that you like it even more makes me even more intrigued. So,
mind you, I need to preface that with a lot of the shows I'm watching are not great.
oh,
So there's that too.
I did a lot of premature weeding out of things, I guess. I pretty much am only watching things that are season 2s, surprisingly, this season. I mean, I've got some carryovers, right? Those are technically the same season, but they're almost like a season 2. And, like, literally looking at this list, 3 shows that I'm currently watching are not season 2s, and you guys are watching all of them. Yes, all of them. Right? Yeah, you're watching all of them.
I'm not watching Urusei Yatsura.
It's technically a season 2, I believe, but I can talk about that one because that's probably what I'm going to talk about. Well, actually, no, I'm going to let you go first, Thane, so I don't, because I want to talk about something it is in a season 2, so I'm just going to pick whatever he doesn't pick, I guess.
I really like the Delicious in Dungeon. It's like if it's a cooking mini game but an RPG, but that's the whole game is the cooking mini game. You kill the monsters and then cook them.
Like, and all of the different monsters that they just cook them up.
Yeah.
So this is one I did put on my list because you were telling us about it, and I figured I might as well watch it. But I think this one's going to be a binge halfway through the season kind of thing for me. But
yeah,
it looks
it's
interesting.
also simul-dubbed, so.
It is simul-dubbed?
Yes.
Yo. Shoot, maybe I jump on this earlier. I didn't know that.
Also, the chick who plays Dami voices the elf chick in the show.
The English or Japanese?
English.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't really do anything for me because I don't watch One Piece, but I get you. I mean,
like the live action.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She does the dub?
Yeah. Her name's Emily Rudd, I think.
Did she do like dubbing work before?
I don't know, but Netflix has just been doing random like actors in their dubs.
Interesting.
Like you remember Uncle from Another World? They
Yeah.
had, like random actors.
That's true. Yeah, they did just have random actors.
Yeah. So.
Huh. Now that intrigues me. Okay, I'm probably gonna start picking up. I think there's 4 episodes of that one so far, so I'll probably pick that one up here soon. I'm gonna talk about one. I think Skylar's watching this one, and Thane, you might as well. I think you're both watching this one. But Skylar didn't sound too impressed. I've only seen 2 episodes so far. I'm currently 1 episode behind, but it's Metallic Rouge. Metallic Rouge. That's how you can tell they're watching because they both corrected me. Metallic Rouge. This one's interesting. I think this one has a lot of potential to be really fun and unique for the season, especially when the season is mostly just season 2s of things that are stuff that we are already caring about, so it's easy to just pick those up and go. That said, I don't know how strong of an opening it's had so far. Like, the characters seem fun, the animation seems really good, but the story is kind of up in the air and you don't really know what's happening. You get subtle backstory and world-building hints throughout episode 2, which almost feels like that's what that episode's for. It just feels like, how are we going to do the world-building exposition dump? Oh, I know. Let's have them go on a vacation or a trip, whatever, with people. So that's what they do. And I think it works. I think it's been fun. I haven't seen enough, obviously. Like I said, I'm behind an episode. Are you guys both caught up on this?
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
Episode 3 good?
I think it's getting better because, like you mentioned, episode 1, they kind of throw you into it. Feels like you're missing stuff. Like you just jump right into the middle of something. But with the world building and like as the story's expanding, I think I'm going to like it a lot more.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like the dialogue, which is kind of what got me going. And the world seems very interesting as well.
That one's simul-dubbed as well.
Yeah, that's why I was extra excited to start watching it.
Yeah.
So the only reason I picked this up is because there's a person I follow on Twitter that happened to mention this, and the stuff that they like, I typically end up liking, and so I'm like, I'll give it a shot too. Same person that told me to watch this 16-bit sensation on Twitter as well last season, so I was like, yeah, we'll give it a shot, and then I opened it up and saw it was simul-dubbed, and I jumped right on it. I was like, let's go, we're in. But yeah, so I think it's going to be fun, I think. I think the world is cool.
Yeah.
The opening slaps. I don't know if I care much for the animation just because it's looks like shots from the show. I definitely prefer animation openings that are different than just random shots from the show, but the music definitely pulls this one through. But anyway, that's pretty much the shows that we're watching this season, or one show each that we're watching this season. I'm sure we'll talk more as we go throughout the season. This one's going to be a little bit rough for me just because I'm watching so many season 2s. So it's going to be hard for me to talk about some of these things without spoiling anything, I guess. But yeah.
Maybe you could give a sales pitch on why people should watch
There
it.
we go. I'll give a sales pitch. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I could definitely do that. We'll talk about those another day. For now, we're going to go ahead and get into Serial Experiments Lain, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on that and spoil it, so
Yeah.
spoiler warning. Skylar, you picked this show.
Oh, you're going to ask me to explain it?
Like that throw.
Serial Experiments Lain is a show about a girl, maybe.
What?
We don't really know.
She could be a robot.
Essentially, this show is just a big acid trip that makes you question reality, God, and the internet. It's very hard to explain what's going on most of the time because you don't know what's reality and what's fake. You don't know who's real and who's not. All that we know, really, is that there's a girl named Lane, maybe. She has all these weird psychological experiences. She's very addicted to The Wired, which is what the internet is supposed to be. And there's so many interactions with characters and things that it's going on that for me, found it so hard, which is intentional, to root myself in any sort of reality that I felt like I was doing drugs while I watched the show, and I was sober. Did I miss anything? Is there anything else I could explain about the show?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye, everybody. Yeah, Lane's an interesting show. When you first suggested it, I knew that I was not going to enjoy it because I kind of knew what it was going to be. And I was correct. I did not enjoy this show for many reasons. But there's things about it that I enjoyed. There's things about it that I thought were good and liked. I had this thought probably episode 8, 9, or 10, or 11-ish, where I thought, this is just the very final episode of Evangelion if that final episode lasted for 13 episodes of a show. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't really love the final episode of Evangelion. That said, I understood it. I kind of got what the message was, but that's also because I had 20 plus episodes of backing to help me figure out where these characters were in their mindsets. You don't get that in Lane, and that's my biggest issue. That's a pessimistic boy named Cole who thinks this. I know Skylar has similar thoughts. He might have enjoyed it more than I did, and I think Thane enjoyed the show.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm curious to hear from somebody who did enjoy it.
So here's the thing. If Sky didn't pick the show, I was going to pick it. That
was
gonna
really?
be one of my picks, but Sky picked it from a friend's request. And he enjoyed the show too. I was surprised.
I want to talk about that when you're done, though.
And I think yeah, it's weird, but it kind of adds to the experience. I like weird stuff like this. One of my favorite shows of all time is a show called Tim and Eric. Awesome show, great job. Most people are like, what the hell is this? And it's
See, the difference, though, that I think between Tim and Eric and this is Tim and Eric is a comedy.
I know this,
and this is, serious.
What I'm trying to say is, I like
Experimental
avant-garde,
stuff.
experimental stuff. you heard me listen to Death Grips the other day. It's like, what the hell? It's like,
I did.
yeah.
I walked into the shop and I was like, I feel like I'm in an episode of Lane right now.
Yeah. But I think like it's very experimental. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and yeah, you probably need to like watch a video on it or something and maybe miss something. But I think it feels really like I could feel that it influenced a lot of things. Like, oh yeah, this is like influential on a lot of like weird techno thriller stuff that people watch this are like, this is so inspirational. And like, yeah, there's a lot of commentary on the internet. Like, yeah, spend too much time on the internet and you'll start to question your sanity. It's like, and then I have like I thought of a theory. There was an episode where it was like watching an episode of the History Channel, and you guys didn't like the episode, but I was like, it's like an episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
That's exactly like that.
Yeah, and it's like, and I had theories like, was The Wired created by aliens? Because they mentioned Roswell, and I was like, it doesn't imply that, but that's a theory I had. Like, was it created by aliens? Because it seems pretty alien. It's more like trying to be like, what's thing about God? Like,
What is God? Who is
omnipotent
God?
or
Who created?
omnipotent? Yeah, like
All-knowing?
Yeah, it's like. I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't remember. Like
Omniscient?
Just
yeah.
a creator.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be like, oh, is this thing from God? Like, does God exist? Yeah, like stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like, if you like pay attention to it, it's like, wow, which my brain's not big enough, and I would need to watch stuff. But like, I'm intrigued. It intrigued me.
See, here's the thing with Lane and shows Lane adjacent. Like with Fooly Cooley, I remember I watched Fooly Cooley, and I was like,
Cooley.
I don't get it. I feel like I was on crack while I watched this show. So as one does, when I watch something that everybody likes and I don't, I feel like I missed out on something. So I watched a bunch of videos on Fooly Cooley, asked some of our friends why they enjoyed it, as did our friend that recommended me this show, which, by the way, the only reason I picked it is because I thought the intro was just a slapper, and it is.
Which it is. It very much so is a banger, dude.
Freaking
It's so
bangs.
good.
The intro bangs hard, so I was like, okay, we'll pick it. But after I had watched episode 1, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to like this show. After I finished it, I told our friend about it, and I'm like, after he finished it, because Cole took a screenshot of our reviews. He gave it a 5. I gave it a 6, and then our buddy gave it a 9.5. And I asked him, I said, what did you like about the show? And he said, I don't know. And I said, did you understand it? And he said, nope. I'm like, okay, well, then I went to the internet because I wanted to see why other people really like this show. And most of the time, I found that people, they liked how it kind of, not necessarily predicted the future, but kind of, I guess, as far as like what Thane mentioned earlier about the internet. But a lot of people say that the show is very, it's just up to your interpretation at most points. And a lot of the time, you really don't know what's going on. For example, the sister that was just going nuts, right?
Yeah.
There's one point in the show where she walks into the house and sees herself. And I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on? Like, is that just her conscience? Is that her body? What's going on here? You know what I mean? And it's stuff like that that just goes unexplained. And I think that's the intention of the show is you don't know what's going on. You really don't. I personally don't like shows like that. Like, what kind of message am I supposed to take from this other than what is reality? The internet is bad, and what is God? Which kind of what the show is going after. But like I said, I don't know. It's just not a story for me. I like to be rooted in some sort of reality that I can make connection to. I can't make any connection to this other than, like Thane mentioned earlier, people can, I think, blur the lines between reality and virtual reality, I guess. It's not something that I necessarily have to deal with. I guess to an extent, like I can watch a show and get angry at a character, but that's just good immersion.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it is good immersion. For me, I feel shows like this that expect you, the viewer, to do 90% of the legwork when it comes to figuring things out and quote unquote understanding them come off a bit of pretentious to me. I don't like that. I personally don't love that. I understand that it's a complete art form. Like that's what they wanted to go for. And I don't and like I know people like it, and that's completely fine. In my opinion, I just feel like it does come off pretentious, and I don't like it. For a lot of the same reasons that you just brought up there, Skylar. But like I think Fooly Cooley is a great comparison because where I didn't love Fooly Cooley, it worked though. It still worked. Like sure it was all crazy and it left a lot of the things and stuff up to the viewer's interpretation. You still had this vehicle driving the story to an extent, right? Lane, you really don't. You kind of do episode 1 through like 4. Then after that, it's just balls to the wall, whatever the heck we feel like throwing up on the screen you're going to look at and call it a day.
Yeah, and to me it felt like it didn't flow.
No,
not flow
not at all.
It's like you're going from one scene to the next that have no connection, and you're like, I don't know what's going on. Where are we? You know what I mean?
So that's probably my biggest issue. It expects the viewer to do most of the legwork in deciding what they want to think about the show. If I were to have watched this back in the day, I think I would have hated it even more because I didn't have any of the context of what they quote-unquote predicted, which in reality is honestly pretty incredible when you think about when this show came out. I think it was like 98 or something, which is pretty dang bonkers. Like all of the stuff that they, like I said, quote-unquote predicted.
They kind of low-key predicted the metaverse.
Yeah, in a sense.
Except metaverse isn't good at all.
Yeah, back then, though, I would have got to maybe episode 3. I just dropped it. Today, because I do have the context of modern internet and all that, I was able to get the gist of things here and there, and that's what was able to do a lot of the legwork. So it was more of like a 60% me, 30% the fact that I know about modern technology, and then 10% just the show driving its own plot forward. Regardless, like, I understand why people like this. I know why people like this kind of thing. Just not for me. Not for me at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I like my weird stories told to me in a way that I still get to decide things, but there's still sustenance to it.
Yeah, well, it's digestible. That's why.
Yeah, digestible.
That's why superhero movies work and are so popular. Granted, they're on the decline, I feel, right now. But anyway, it's
sharp decline.
Yeah, they're just easily digestible. Some of the best stories, I feel like, are that. I mean, as a viewer, I don't want the writer to make me feel like a complete moron, like literally spoon-feeding me everything. But at the same time, I don't want to have to burn calories using my brain to try to figure out what's going on the screen. I'm not playing chess. I just want to watch something, you know what I mean?
And I also just dislike the idea of the people who made this. They also know that no one's going to get this. Like, there's nothing, quote unquote, there's nothing to get. It's up to your own interpretation. I still like the idea of some things being like they knew what they kind of were thinking when they were doing this, not just let's throw some random stuff up there. Like, you can't tell me that Hideki Anno did not have a vision for the final episode of Evangelion. Like, there's no way. That episode is off the wall.
That's why I made the movie.
Exactly, yeah. That episode is so off the walls, but you can tell that he has a vision for it. He still knows where it wants to go, but he does leave it up to the viewer, right? Yeah. And I like that. I think Fooly Cooley's the same. It has this vision of what it wants to do and what it wants to tell, but it also wants the viewer to do stuff on their own as well. This show is not that. It's literally just, future gonna be crazy, isn't it, guys? Yeah. Have fun thinking about it.
Even like comparing it to Paranoia Agent, which I felt was kind of out there, and it was paralleled as far as like hard to understand at times, but I feel like Paranoia Agent was easier for me to understand because it had a flow, a sense of direction, like you've already mentioned, whereas this doesn't. Like, I felt so lost. I feel like in Lane, you could literally jump into any episode and be exactly where I was after watching it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a puzzle where it's like, oh yeah, you could do that, but if you like kind of piece it together, you could probably get somewhat of an understanding. Yeah, I think it was just going for like a bit disorder. Like I think that's like, yeah, nothing feels real. Like I think that's the feel. If you know what they're going for, I think you can appreciate more. It's like, yeah, they're just like, yeah, like nothing like feels real. Like things feel disconnected. Like people like are living lives they don't understand. Something like that.
And see, that's where I think it's cool that they leave it up to your interpretation. But I guess I interpreted it not that way. My interpretation was just confusing, I guess. I mean, I already said it. It's what's God, what's reality, internet bad.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what they were going for. It's what it feels like anyway, but the way you looked at it, I think is a little more...
And this,
better,
and in a way, this show's kind of the precursor to Black Mirror, except maybe not as existential. That's the word of existential.
Existential?
Yeah, existential, yeah.
But even with like Black Mirror, there's still stories that you
like
can follow.
Black Mirror's simple. Like this one's trying to be more like out there.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm with you, Cole. Like I understand why people like it. It's just definitely not for me.
It's I haven't seen it all the way, but people like it's probably like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it's like, oh, it's up to interpretation, or like people have like explained it. Like at the beginning, there's this random shot of monkeys like worshiping this obelisk. Like what? And then it goes to space, and you're like, what was with the monkeys? And then like the man becomes a space baby, and you're like, what? Yeah, but people have interpreted it like this show. People have interpreted it like they say, oh, it could be about this. Like, yeah. But one interesting fact I wanted to bring up is that they made a video game out of this.
Yeah, I kind of saw little bits and pieces. It's a PlayStation 2 game, right?
PS1.
Oh, PS1 game.
Yeah.
Is it like a light novel? Or excuse me, a visual novel?
Here's the thing. So it's kind of, games like Hypnospace Outlaw and I think Her Story, where it's like you're on like a simulated OS and you're just clicking through files. Mm-hmm. It's like that. They simulated like the Wired interface, and like Lane's on there as a sprite. You just click and you read video files, and there's like, and the story is completely different from the anime. So you're thinking, hey, maybe I'll get some more answers. Like, no, it's just a completely story. It's like a weird precursor to those kind of like fake interface games. It's very out there, very interesting, and the ending is very dark because in the end, Lane pulls out a gun on a bridge and blows her brains out.
Oh my god!
It's
well,
like,
there was
what?
that one moment where they kind of teased that, but
Yeah.
then they didn't do it.
Yeah, at the beginning there was that girl who like jumped off the building.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they gave
Yeah.
Lane a gun at one point,
Yeah.
and like they said, make sure you use your thumb because the trigger is gonna be too heavy for your little
Yeah.
girl fingers.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, for one, they wouldn't be that heavy. Two, it just might be easier to use a thumb in that direction you're pointing.
Yeah.
Moving away from just like the craziness that it is, I wanted to do my best to dissect the actual plot. And it's going to be very basic, mind you. So episode like 1, Lane is like, okay, there's a girl that sent emails out, but she's dead. That's kind of crazy. Let's jump on my computer and see if I got one too. She gets one. Like, oh yeah, cool. I got one. And then she's like, hey dad, I want to get into more computer stuff. And because of that girl, because that girl said something about being on the Wired, like she didn't actually die or whatever, and she's on the Wired. And so her dad sets her up, and then she goes crazy computer mode. And then at some point becomes a super great hacker, far better than anybody else in the entire world. And it progresses to the point where Lane realizes, or finds out rather, that she's not even human. Her whole family is a fake. It's a fraud. And that she was actually created by this the scientist guy who created the Wired and created her to be a pseudo bridge from the real world to the Wired. And after a while, Lane becomes like the operator of the entire Wired, and eventually her existence is erased. But it's also still there because she is the god of the Wired at the end, basically. That's kind of how I interpreted the story.
A crazy time.
It's great. It really, it's if you think about it in that aspect, it's just a big snowball.
Yeah, I have a feeling this show. I don't know if I don't know if the Wachowskis watched this show, but it might have inspired The Matrix a bit.
Could have, yeah.
Yeah, because like there's that whole jacking into another reality.
Yeah.
So.
There's some really, really cool little shots and moments as well that if you blink, you miss it kind of thing that help tell the story. And I think it's for these specific things that people really enjoy the show that also really enjoy rewatching it over and over and over again. The moment that I'm thinking of is Lane's all dolled up. She's hanging out with her friends out in some club. And then she leaves, gets into the computer world, and she goes into the Wired, more or less. But like there's a very obvious hint that it's like, oh, she never was in the human world to begin with. She had always been in the Wired, and then she went into the Wired in the Wired, which doesn't make sense. I don't think it's supposed to, obviously, but
Yeah.
The hint is when she get done hanging out with her friends, she's all dolled up, right? So she tries wiping away her lipstick, and it smears on her lips. She goes into the Wired, and the lipstick is still there smeared. And later on, while she's in the Wired again, she completely wipes the rest of it off. And it's like, I see what you're trying to tell me here. You're trying to tell me that she was never in the real world this entire episode at all.
Yeah.
Very interesting way, and I liked the imagery that they used to portray that. But if I wasn't really trying to look for something, I never would have noticed that in my life. And there's probably so many more tiny things like that are trying to help you through. But that's so much extra work. That's like you were saying earlier. You got to really put down the brain power. You got to burn some calories to figure out some of this stuff. and I'm just all like, I don't know if I'm here for it. I just want to be dumb sometimes and watch a story.
Yeah. See, and that was like some of the things that I really enjoyed was some of the camera shots. I really liked their use of colors and sound effects. I thought their sound effects were really, really cool. But there's a shot specifically that it kind of parallels what you already mentioned is where, because at the point where I got let in on like, is she in reality or is she in the Wired? I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to things. And it's like their use of color and no color, like their use of space at times are like, wow, that's awesome. Like there's one scene where she's walking down a staircase, but it's like all white, and then it's like these red shadows that look like spikes, but it's actually the shadows of the staircase. But I'm like, well, what am I even looking at here? And it wasn't until she started actually walking down the stairs I was like, what the freak? Like stuff like that where it's very abstract, but still I'm able to piece it together into my brain what's actually going on. And I would notice stuff like that. We're like, okay, I don't know if she's in reality or not because they're both so intertwined. Like, I don't know if there's any, maybe there's some establishing shots where it's like, okay, this is her in reality and this is her not. But I don't know because I guess I just wasn't paying attention enough to realize that. But I did enjoy a lot of the camera work and a lot of the artistic designs they did.
That's probably my favorite part is just the aesthetic, like the dark aesthetic. Like, not many anime just do like deafening, like I wouldn't say deafening. It's like pure silence. Like there's like shots where it's like really silent. Like I wish more horror anime would do that. Horror anime seems just really loud and jumpy. It's like I wish horror anime would take like lessons from Lane, how they make it, because at times it does feel like a horror movie. Like there's some pretty off-putting imagery, and it's like, yeah, like why doesn't horror anime learn from stuff like Lane? It's like, yeah, I just like how like this. I would say this style is like pretty influential for a lot of other creators that really attach themselves to the show. It's like it's like the opposite version of vaporwave, where it's a vibe. It's more like a
Uncomfortable.
yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
chill word or
Yeah.
the hip word for saying uncomfortable?
On edge.
It's edgy. I wouldn't say the show's edgy, but
Whoa, that was loud.
yeah.
So-
You were.
I was gonna say I got one last thing to
Yeah.
even bring up about this. It was just a quote that I got from the show that I thought was really funny because
After your quote, I got a theory about the dub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. So this is I think it's from episode 2 or 3.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh out loud because I was like in the mindset of this being from '98 and like imagining this is how people will talk in the future. Anyway, it says, "I'm gonna leak this JPEG to your company server." Just all, I watched the dub, right? And
Yeah.
so it's word for word what they said.
Yeah.
And I was just all like, that's not what they would say.
Got
nowadays.
him. We got him.
We got him.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so funny though. Leak that
Um,
JPEG.
So my theory about the dub and several dubs around that time is that I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure there's a certain technique to dubbing anime because of like the lip flaps and how they speak. I'm pretty sure like I looked at the main actress Bridget Hoffman and she's not that bad. I've heard her in other roles. She's not a bad voice actress, but there's very awkward lines that she delivers, and I'm thinking like I just don't think she and other people had that technique down. Or the direction, or the director didn't know the technique.
Yeah, so I believe this is the technique that you're referring to. They play the clip, and
Yeah.
the voice actor watches the clip.
Uh-huh.
They see the lip flaps,
Yeah.
and then they give them the line, and the line is supposed to have enough syllables to match the lip flaps.
Yeah.
And then they try to match the lip flaps as they're speaking it, essentially. So that way they don't have to go back in and fix the
Yeah.
lip flaps in post.
And I think like that was like for the early days of dubbing, like when dubbing was getting bigger.
Yeah.
I think that people were just like having a hard time trying to find that technique.
There's a good video that showcases that. It's the voice actress that plays Ash Ketchum. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have seen that.
Sarah,
Yeah.
not Nada Cheney, or Veronica Taylor.
The one with red hair.
This is the
Or
old
orange
one,
hair.
the old school Ash or new Ash, current Ash.
I think it was
Does she look younger or older?
younger.
Okay, Sarah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, there was a video I watched. This was several years ago, but it was like showing how to match how it gets dubbed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, I've seen that video as well. It's cool. It's interesting though, and I kind of personally dislike that. I wish they would just go the extra effort and match lip flaps, because then every now and then you get this weird thing where they're trying to translate it, but they're also trying to translate it with words that specifically have enough syllables to match the lip flaps, and it's just like, I guarantee you there's some stuff that are lost in translation as a result of that, and it's a shame. But I'm lazy and I don't like to read.
Yeah. It's true. Like if a dub is like offensively bad, I'll switch the sub, but I'm okay with dubs most of the time.
Yeah.
If you pay attention enough to, and maybe this is just with older stuff, I haven't really noticed it too much with newer stuff, but they'll like cut to the back of somebody's head and then just say a whole bunch of lines really quick and then come back.
Yeah.
It's like they've edited it to just extend
It's
that still.
That still.
It said Zone of the Enders, the second runner, when he had to like fit all those words in that one sentence. Like, you sweeten me with beautiful words like pretty independent. You can't sweeten me with beautiful words pretty independent anymore. He like has to say a bunch of words really fast and it just sounds so awkward.
Yeah, the world of anime, very interesting. We can get stuff like this, which is just a total mind F. We can also get stuff like my girlfriend that I got reincarnated into's dog.
It's two
Next
extremes.
Wink, wink. That's my favorite anime 2023.
I got two more things about this, and it's not really about Lane. It's more about the things around it. And it was the studio. I think they're called Triangle Studio. So they made like two before Lane and a few after Lane. And the next show that the guy made, he made a lighter, more comedic show. And that show killed the studio.
Oh, yikes.
I don't know if it killed it, but they shut down. They were working on another anime film, like I think it was Pat Labor 3, but they shut down while they were making that. So this guy is known for their biggest anime, the studio's biggest anime, and the anime that essentially killed them.
Wow.
And another
That's too
one is
bad.
that there's a show I watched a while back that had like the same vibe called Buggy Pop Phantom. Now, I will tell you, don't watch the 90s one. Just if you're interested, go watch the 2016 one, because when I watched it, I was confused. And I was like, is there supposed to be like lore or something? Because it's kind of more of a supernatural lore. And then people in the comments say, yeah, you're supposed to read the novels beforehand. And it's like, great. The novels were not localized, and they just dubbed this thing and threw it out there. It's like, wow. So this is like if you take a show like Lane, but like there's actual context and they just don't give it to you because you're supposed to go read the novels. Which is why the 2016 show, it's just straight up based off the novels. So it's like, that's why if you're interested, just go watch Boogie Pop and Others, I think it's called. But yeah, that's...
Lane was completely original, right? It wasn't based off of anything.
Yeah, there's nothing like... Afterwards, had like a manga and the game. And that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fun.
Yeah.
Last call for Lane thoughts.
I gave it 6.
I give
6
it a-
out of 10.
I give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a okay out of 10. I give it a 2-0 and poison out of 10.
You get 1 hit of acid out
Yeah.
of a blanket made out of hemp.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, that was our thoughts
Yeah.
and discussion on Serial Experiments Lane. The next 2 weeks, we're going to be watching a show that I am choosing. Now, I'm going to be doing something we haven't done for a very, very long time.
Please have titties. Please have titties.
Specifically, we haven't done since the first episode of the show.
Okay.
I will be picking a show that has more than 12 episodes. It's the season 1 lasts, I think it's 24 total episodes. I'm not going to be picking the same show multiple times. I'm only going to be picking the first 11 episodes of this show because it's a solid enough ending at that point.
Okay.
So I guess if you guys someday want to pick it, go for it. If you just want to keep watching it, go for it. I'm never going to pick it again. I'm only picking it right now.
Okay.
I'm picking this because a season 3 of this show is coming out soon, and I want to get a fresh jump on it because it's been such a very long time since I've watched it, and I never finished season 2 of the show. This show that I'm referring to is ReZero, Starting Life in Another World.
I want to watch that one too.
So, the first 11 episodes of ReZero, you'll know because it's a pretty, solid, quote-unquote, ending. Obviously not an ending, but they could have ended a season at this point, if you will. It's interesting because it's 11 episodes instead of 12, but episode 1 is also a 40-minute long episode. They made that first episode extra long.
Yeah.
There is also a director's cut of this show.
Yeah.
Where some episodes are spliced together and have extra scenes. And I think that version ends at episode 8, if you want to get the same length. I'm going to be trying to watch the director's cut. Each episode's like 45 minutes long, 50 minutes long. And so I'm just like, yeah, I'll just do it. Because I already watched this season. I might as well watch the extra stuff too. But yeah, so episode 11 of ReZero, or I guess if you're watching the director's cut, I think it's episode 8. Do not quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's 8.
I'm probably going to watch the whole thing.
I'm probably going to watch the whole thing as well, but not in this time span. I'm
Yeah.
going to be watching just probably the first, I think, like I said, 8
When
episodes.
is season 3 supposed to come out?
I think summer.
Okay.
So not this next season, not spring, I believe summer season. But anyway, that does it for our show this week. Thank you guys for listening and for watching. If you're here on YouTube, let us know why we are wrong and why you're mad at us for hating Lane, except for Thane, because Thane likes it.
Post your essay about, you see, in order to understand Lane, you have to have a high IQ.
I've watched Rick and Morty, understood it. I should be able to understand Lane. Thank you guys again. We'll see you all next time. Have a good life.
Bye.
Bye.